Perfect. Let me share my screen and we can get this started. And here, I believe everyone should be able to hear me. Thank you so much, Christy, for making the introduction. As she mentioned, and we appreciate the chance to host this, as well as being able to present for the industry insider for the IT market. Something that we've been seeing that has been pretty important, and I think that has hit a lot of companies, especially because of last year, has been the IT industry as a whole. With IT talent, unemployment trends, the difficulty with finding IT talent, and something that we are focusing on is how can we help alleviate those pains. So which is why we brought you here today. With this quick introduction, again, Andy Martinez with TEKsystems, and then Dan Jones with TEKlytics. To get started, before we go into all of the unemployment and we get into all those details, I want to do a quick introduction on TEKsystems, what we do, who we are. And then we'll get into those pains and challenges. And then lastly, throughout the presentation, go through the framework that we've developed and that we've been delivering on to help with providing an influx in IT talent while helping companies deliver on IT projects. So first and foremost, might have skipped one. There we go. So TEKsystems, we are part of Allegis Group, and TEKsystems in itself focuses specifically within IT, but we have sister companies like Aerotech, which focus more so on like engineering. And then we have other sister companies that focus within like finance. But again, here TEKsystems, and you'll see TEKsystems and TEKsystems Global Services. We have pretty much two divisions, one that focuses on staffing, and then the other one focuses on project delivery and services. And so with the staffing portion, we do a lot of working with companies. You let us know, hey, we're looking for someone with this type of skill set. Can you help us find it? And we can help you do that within a contract to hire, or direct placement model. Here in Tucson, we have probably about 15, or not in Tucson, in Arizona, we have about 1,500 consultants currently that we have deployed through various companies. So that's mainly on the staffing portion side of things. On the global services side, we have different practices that we specialize in to help companies deliver on projects, not necessarily finding them a person that can do a specific piece of work that you manage. We more so then take the project either on a co-managed or on a fully outsourced capacity. And you let us know, like, hey, we need to do this cloud migration, or we need to do this data warehouse migration. We're building out X application. Then we can work with you, and we can pretty much take that off your plate, and then pretty much give you the end product. Here are the keys to the car. And as you can see, we specialize within like cloud, DevOps, digital experience, applications, data services, infrastructure services. Really kind of more so it's tailored to what you're looking for. We can help you plan out the projects, help you deliver on those projects, or even provide trainings on those projects. Now, the reason I wanted to give that quick background on the company is to get into the topic of this presentation, starting off with the unemployment trends, pretty much to give you guys an idea of our experience within the IT industry, and that we do have experience and see these numbers firsthand. If you look at the chart, we're comparing overall unemployment to IT unemployment for last year. And so at the beginning of the year, they started pretty close to each other. And as we know, with COVID impacts, a lot of jobs were lost. And so around March, April of last year, we saw this huge spike. But if you look at the IT unemployment, it didn't really increase too much. There was a little bit of increase in unemployment. And by the end of the year, over here, you see 6.3% for overall unemployment and 2.4% for IT unemployment. So we saw an actual decrease in unemployment in IT, but an increase in unemployment overall. Reason I wanted to get into that piece of it is that there has been a trend of more IT jobs, the need for more people. And so you can see that year over year, we're actually needing more IT people and unemployment is decreasing, even though the trends overall say otherwise. Now here, I can bring up Dan to talk a little bit more specific about what we're seeing in Tucson.
Yes. So Andy, you're going to run the screen for me here. So yeah, so my name's Dan Jones, for everybody online. So this is a kind of usual, both in person and online, which is, at least we're starting to step our way out of COVID. So to give you a little background on all of this, I've been working with this since about 2011. How I got involved in this, I was with the company, and actually, everybody don't hate me in Tucson, but I'm an ex-Sun Devil. So Coach Cush asked me if there's a way, he was listening to what I was doing in the Midwest, and asked me if there's a way I could bring an opportunity like this. It sounded like something, we have a lot of space, a lot of capability in Arizona. Why don't we try doing this? So he introduced me kind of to the core people that are in the Phoenix and the Valley area, and then which engaged me with ASU, and then Gordon Wishen was the CIO actually at ASU at that time, and introduced me to Michelle Norm. I got to know Michelle. Now Michelle's at Rutgers. So we started back a long time ago. And we were looking at this, and they did a lot of surveys. We were in workforce development groups with the ACA and the different leaders and community people like Sandra Watkins and Chris Camacho and all the different people. And we got Michael on here too. Michael is really, there's an organization trio, and Michael's still kind of in that role of kind of heading up kind of how do we develop and do things with Tucson. My son was in med school here in Tucson. So it was a real good synergy. And this is, we're talking almost probably 9-10 years ago. And a lot of the same issues that we're facing Tucson and the Upper Valley were exactly the same. All of these same skill sets, and I believe there's more on this than there was then on this list. Everyone wanted to break into technology. How can we improve the technology base within the state of Arizona for attracting customers, attracting business, increasing tax values, providing better jobs, providing opportunities for people that didn't have a job. So the skill force on this, on the workforce side, was anywhere from, mothers that were looking to come back into the workforce, wanted to repatriate themselves and have an opportunity in that, to veterans, to underemployed, to all the different people, to people in different degrees that may have chosen a degree or had to have a degree and do some of these things. And how could we build something that would provide an opportunity to them to take advantage of these jobs that are listed on Rice's screen? And at that time, we went through a lot of study back then, went through a lot of the different analysis, went through a lot of cohort groups with the workforce development side, where they brought in consultants from out of state, looked at different states, what states would provide the best impact for providing this type of resource throughout the country, whether it was Texas or South Carolina or Arizona. And what came about with this is that the ability that Arizona has to produce the number of people with the community colleges. We met with Pima College. I met with everybody that was down here on the workforce. There's areas of veterans that are down here. We currently work with Tillman. And I'll talk about some success stories with this. So we went through this entire process. We actually worked with MCorp, and we built out a program that actually built boot camps way back in 2014. We built boot camps with .NET, where we have one lady that's a testimonial. She actually came out of that and went into her new career, and she gave us her name. She didn't want to give us her last name because she was living in a van at the time, and it isn't like the joke. I mean, she was actually homeless at the time, and we took her through this and helped her get a job. But we couldn't scale it. See, the problem with the companies, and that we need to get the word out now as we go through this process, is that we have the ability to scale, not only produce people, but scale these people in the hundreds if we want to build that talent back here. It's proven, and you'll see as we go through this what I mean by that, because I've spent the last 10 years now engaged in this, to where we have done the work with corporations for 5 years here in the valley right now. We want to get it into Tucson. I think that Tucson has the ability to support huge IT resource bases that could here not only support the Tucson needs in these jobs, but also support national needs of providing services at a rate that is comparable to offshore. And we're going to go through and we're going to tell that story. So I want to show you the benefits. And Michael Guyman stuck with me through this. We reconnected. I've joined with TEKsystems. I believe they have the wheelhouse, which you showed, that Andy just showed you, in the space of the technology, to become the main resource provider, not only for some of the best quality technical people that they do at the senior level, but providing the best quality people through our process to build out brand new IT resources across Tucson or anywhere in Arizona. So I think there's a real upside to help people out of all different types. And we've done that. You'll see that. And so I hope you get excited as we go through this, because this is for rollout. This is for taking it out to your peers, out to your corporations, and let's start taking advantage of the people that are here to support our IT needs. If we have this many jobs, 14,000 some jobs, why aren't they here? And we can do it. Sandy, let's go to the next slide.
And something that I want to add before we go to the next slide as well is, of course, there's the talent pools here in Tucson, but there's also remote jobs outside of Tucson that people are working for. And so not necessarily everyone that's in Tucson is working for companies in Tucson. And so how do we fulfill Tucson's needs if we don't have, let's say, all 14,000 people working in Tucson, and there's more jobs than there are people? So what we're going to present here is a way that we've developed to be able to create an influx by training people and helping them deliver on projects. And I'll let Dan go into the framework here in the next slide to talk a little bit more about that.
Are there more people living in Tucson and work being employed elsewhere, or more people elsewhere?
Are there more people living in Tucson employed elsewhere? So as far as IT goes, I would say that the majority of people that work in IT also that live in Tucson have jobs in Tucson, but the number of people that work in IT beginning to work remotely for other states like California or Colorado has been increasing because they can pay more while letting them live in Arizona.
Interesting to find out the answer.
Yeah.
Because that, I think, is your opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Have them live here, whether they fill jobs here,
Yep.
or they fill them elsewhere, they physically.
Yep.
I think that's the opportunity.
Yep. And I think that's a good one for not just for them to have the opportunity to work, but then to also have an influx of cash into the state because they're working for, say, elsewhere, for bringing money into Arizona that they can spend here in the economy. Yep.
Yeah. And those are really great questions, because like you're saying, how many work here and work out of state and do these things? Well, the thing is that just take that and flip it. If we build people here, how many people could work here, support companies, and work out of state, but improve the quality of the Tucson community by increasing the ability for young people to get jobs, stay at home, stay here, work out of this community when they don't want to leave. They don't want to leave the community. You know, they're right here and they want to stay here for as long as they can. There's a real opportunity for that. And because it's a computer type technology, that ability really remains. It's something that they can do. They could work out of Tucson, and we could create Tucson with the cost of living that's here. The statistics pretty much are the same. We could easily support companies that are in New York, companies that are in Pennsylvania, support them anywhere they are, Chicago, and provide a much more affordable cost. And even in some cases, I believe it'll be the same or comparable to any issues they would have in offshore. That's what I think is really exciting about it. So let's kind of dive into the model in just a minute on TEKsystems. So when we joined with too, is to create that tech hub. That was one of the commitments, is to work with the companies and corporations here to drive this out. And then the other part of it was too, is that if you think about this framework, when you think about it, you have to think about my son, who graduated from the University of Arizona, actually, I had him, he got hit by a car and then he lost his ability to be a doctor because his vision, he was going to be a surgeon on the Mohs side. So I pulled him into this to say, would you like to do this? So what he did is he went alongside this program and these projects, and he put together an IT residency program. He said, Dad, this is like residency. So what that means is that all of the colleges, all of the boot camps, all of the pipelines that are out there that have sources that bring people to us, they are like med schools. And the med school comes into a residency program. The residency program then does take 4 or 5 years to do this, great surgeon. But through a period of time, which we'll go into, you can actually develop through the same process that we've built that's tied into the IT methodologies, a process which develops people day one. They become on projects. They are brought in by TEKsystems. They are developed with the companies. Day one, they start producing value to the company with zero IT background. That is the key here. So we take them and we don't discount the education that they've had, the backgrounds they've come from, who they are. And as they come in through that process, day one, they immediately start adding value through this framework that we've built to the customers. And this isn't just pie in the sky. This was something we put down on paper 5, 6, 7 years ago, and we had to proof it out. It wasn't like we just said one day, oh, we're going to do this framework. That it was actually a pie in the sky 5 or 6, 7 years ago. But today it's a proven methodology that works and can transform people into IT people. That's what I want everybody to know. There's no hiccups, games, or gimmicks here. It's actually real. Go ahead. Okay.
And then for here, just to show you a little bit of our recruiting, diversity, sourcing strategy. So like Dan was mentioning, we pretty much go out and we find people who are interested in working in IT. They don't necessarily need to have an IT background, but more so willingness to learn, show that they like work hard. We have different characteristics that we're looking for in these people that we take onto this program. And then from there, not only can we find people, but we also have the ability to diversify the workforce a bit more. If you look at statistics, predominantly IT is male. And so with this, we could target veteran programs. We're partnered with Pat Tillman up in Phoenix. We work with different user groups here in town. We work with the University of Arizona, have relationships with Pima Community College. So we could really try to get the word out there to the pipeline of candidates and let them know, like, hey, if you guys are interested in working in IT, you don't necessarily need to have the IT background, but more so the willingness to want to improve, whether it be your life or earn income or whatever the case may be. Then we can go to these different pipelines and then really diversify the workforce and then have a lot more people out there that we didn't have in the first place to amplify the IT workforce here locally.
Hold on, let me add a little bit to it. Andy just said they're on this pipeline. So to give you an idea, we have a contract that's going in with T-Mobile in Seattle. So they're building it and talk about diversity. This is really cool. This is why I'm in this. Is that they're using, I believe it's a circle of something with color, women of color. But what they're doing is they're using our framework, because our framework is not just having to take people and bring people in. It's also very creative what we've done. So what T-Mobile wanted to do is they wanted to make their workforce more diversified. And they want to do it in IT, and they're doing it in a Salesforce application. And they need hundreds of people. So what they did is they said, we want you to coach TEKsystems. We want you to coach with this framework our employees, our senior developers, because we're going to assign them to this process, to this program. And we want you to show us how you can build these people. So then they got us involved with a group that provides diversity type people that need help. So we're going to bring them into this program, and that's going to be starting up in July, where we start doing it again. That's one flavor of what this can do. The traditional way is that we work with customers, and because their senior people are really overwhelmed most of the time, they're trying to get their own jobs done, they can't do it. So what we do is we come in and we provide this program to companies. They pay us for it. But what they get as the end results of it is they still get the same delivery they would have gotten through another consulting organization or anybody that will be a competitor like TEKsystems. But at the end of it, they get a whole new workforce at a different cost structure. They're not competing against the same type of pool of people that you would see every day. So what TEKsystems has just done, we've helped in the state of Arizona elevate TEKsystems to a point where they're going to become the ultimate resource provider for Arizona. And I'm hoping we'll roll this out to the country, which means that it's one-stop shop, which means if you've got project work you want done, you want to build resources that are around your initiatives. If you're small companies and you want to pool together, you have a certain specialized skill set and you can't find them, why don't we build them for you in our program, share the cost, time share basically, so companies that don't have hundreds of resources or thousands like a Raytheon would out here, we can do all of that creative capability and we can do it at any level with any type of people. And that's what's exciting about this. But TEKsystems has that capability. They have the resources. It's a scalability engine. So where offshore would say, we can give them to you by the hundreds. We can give them to you by the hundreds. So can we? And you'll see the timeline that we're going to show you of how quickly these people come up to speed and how productive they really are.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
You mentioned you weren't as interested in their work experience, but do you look for a college degree still, or do you even take people from high school who you feel have the capacity?
You're stepping down into a futuristic program. We started like 10 or 17 years. I got to get the companies to, number one, feel comfortable with 4-year degrees. We're using veterans, some of them don't have degrees. The lady I spoke of that lived in a van and got a job, she didn't have a degree. So it's very possible. The problem is it's a stair step. The high schools was the goal to provide, like Minnesota has a workforce program. Very good question, because this is a hard beat to the high schools. Is because, I started this because I was a poor kid in South Dakota that got a scholarship to play football. And what would I have been if I wouldn't have had that opportunity, right? So there are high school students out there that have the capability, they want to do this. And it's really drive an initiative, because we don't want people who don't have that drive and want to do it. We have our own methodology done for 5 years, and we're pretty guaranteed when we get somebody, we feel pretty comfortable. We got somebody who's going to put in the effort. And the other thing that to say that the customers love these people, because they come in and they don't have a chip on their shoulder. If you talk to the reference, the testimonials and the case studies that are in here, they don't have a chip on their shoulder. The customers love them. They come in and work hard. And actually what we find, even though we are coaches, they get involved, because now it isn't a brain drain to them. It isn't like a burden that they have to provide the staffing and check on this person and make sure that they're. It becomes really something they become very motivated. But the high school program in Minnesota I was talking about, they actually have the corporations get involved. So there's ways I think we could engage high school level talent and actually allow them to get release programs, because we have part-time students at ASU involved in this that have been involved with us for 2 years now, that they go through the program, they go and do their coursework, and they still put in the minimum hours. So that's a way for them to pay their way and to provide some capability to get, not a scholarship, but they get a way to pay off and pay their way through, whether it's the University of Arizona or Arizona State or a community college to start with. It gives them an opportunity. So I get really excited about this. So this slide is the acceleration slide. This slide shows you, if you go through a boot camp, you'll end up at a certain point, right? Because a boot camp, the company still has to take on the burden of introducing you, engaging you, and doing all the soft skills work. And the technology that you learn through technology doesn't always line up with what a corporation does or really does with technology. Our program can take those boot camps and roll them in. But if you looked at the timeline of this, you're looking at 18, we're finding that in 18 to 22 months, we are the only, TEKsystems is the only company that can say that we have actually provided jobs to real people that did not have IT degrees between 75,000 to 100K within 18 months. That is a proven fact. So there's no other place in the country that has this. We can actually take somebody through this and get them to a 75K to a 6-figure job in 18 months. And I'll show you one of those testimonials and talk to you a little bit about her. And we've done it with veterans and we've done it with college 4-year graduates. So it's pretty exciting. Go ahead. And if you have questions, stop me, but I'll just go. So here's Maddie Wolf. She came to us. I work closely with the Arizona Athletic Department, you can imagine. So I went to them and I said, I want to provide athletes that have been collegiate athletes, and I want to do this for U of A too. We want to get a U of A athletic department involved too. That took degrees because they weren't, that they couldn't take on a computer science background. It's just that their schedule was so tasky and they couldn't do it. So Maddie, I took Maddie over about 20 months ago, and she got involved in our program. And now Swift just hired her for $75,000 plus bonus, plus stock, plus benefits. And she had no IT background, and that's her testimony of what she's done. We have another guy by the name of Ryan, which is a veteran. Same thing. Swift took him. He was going to issue. He got with us, working through school. And Swift, within the 18 to 20 months, has hired this person too. And they have another one, Fernando. Fernando started on my first cohort about 5 years ago. And now he's working with Swift. They hired these people. The Swift and Niter are two primary flagships to get this off the ground. And we've pumped into the valley out of some of these programs, probably 30 to 40 people already that are out working basically at Boeing. Some of them are at the Republic, which is like a sanitation company. We have a lot of different success stories of people that are out there that are working. And she's just one of them I wanted to show you. Go ahead. So here, Swift Transportation, so you'd say, wow, to the companies that are here, the companies we want to talk about, what kind of projects do you give them? All right. This is a data warehousing project that we took on our first one where Fernando came out. This project took us almost about, I'd say, a year to 14 months to complete. We need time frame when we work with a company. This isn't a boot camp. This isn't a one and done in 3 months, or you come out with some magic sauce. We actually built these people. Our framework comes out with real people. But this is taking on Teradata, which is one of the largest database systems in the country, world, and we converted it to a very new technology called Hadoop, which is another big data warehouse engine. And we decommissioned that Teradata system for Swiss Transportation and saved them probably $2 million a year using this team of people. And the people that went to Boeing and went to the Republic came off of this team here. We actually built these people in a very sophisticated technology, probably one of the most difficult ones you could do. And they were delivering ETL scripts and mapping data requirements day one. Day one, they were moving forward in our process and delivering value being paid by the customer. Pretty incredible. When you look at it, these are real. These aren't made up. I mean, right now, I think Chris Camacho reached out to David Jackson, who's the president of Swift tonight, talking about this stuff. This is quite a testimonial. This isn't a boot camp that's trying to push people out to a customer and hire. This isn't, trying to connect people with customers and get them hired. No, this is actually changing people's lives. And I've been at this for 10 years to do this because I want to see something really valuable that I think Arizona can take advantage of. And I think it's important to see. Let's see the next one. Night transportation, which is almost, they own Swift. They came into this. They got involved in this. They had another project they wanted. This is where Maddie came in. That started about 2 years ago. It was actually taking and converting what they call Ultrix and some of the Power BI and stuff. They wanted to create a better front end, better reporting, another big BI project, right? So now all of the people that have been involved in this project have moved on and they're doing other projects. And that's where Maddie got hired. So we still have people engaged with them. They're still doing work between Swift and Night Transportation. We still have a team of those people still working there, and they get to hire them as they feel they get mature. They want to hire them and offer them to the employees. They get to do that. So it's another testimonial that's went on for another 2-year case study on this. All right. So what does that mean for an IT residency program? Start thinking about IT residency, which means we're building people like doctors. Doctors don't come out of medical schools. They don't come out of, IT people don't come out of boot camps. IT people don't come out of colleges and walk into corporations day one. The people that we've built for that 75 to 100K have accelerated past anybody in a 4-year degree in computer science. They're making more money, more benefits. They've improved their life. Like Maddie would tell you that she's ecstatic of what her life has just went. She didn't even know it was possible to change it like that. So you can take people, we can build them. And the reason I did this is because when I came out of college in ASU in 1983, Coach Cush got like father, my dad died. about the same year. So he got me in my first job. And it was at Valley Bank. And I don't know if anybody remembers Valley Bank. You've been here a long time, you remember Valley Bank, right? So Valley Bank gave me the job and I went in there and they had to train me. I came out of ASU, they didn't have technology. I just had a manager show up on my desk and drop about 30 books in front of me. We didn't have the internet or the web and all this stuff. We were using card readers and we went back and prime days here. And they had to build us the same way. And I asked the guy who was on it, I was impressed with this old guy who did this really hard language on the IBM computer. I said, where did you get your degree? You know, here I came out, I thought I was something, I had an IT degree, right? Because I didn't. They asked me in a lunchroom one day if I wanted to do IT, and they asked a bunch of us to raise their hands if anybody was interested. And that's how we started. So I said, they can do it. We got to go back to the basics of where I came from. We got to go back to the basics of learning technology the way I did it. And we got to revamp and build up our resource pools of our young people, our raw materials, and the people that are here. And like, you know, I was talking to Michael Guyman on the phone when we put this together. You got scalability. Like I said, TEKsystems can scale this anywhere you want. There's no big company that says that the US and here in Arizona can't scale resources. Long-term retention. People love them. They're loyal to you. When Maddie got that job offer from Swift, she said she wouldn't take it until she talked to me because of the opportunity I gave her. So when you look at that, when you look at the talent local to Tucson, why? My question is why? And then it gets down to competitive to offshore. And this is where Mike and I were talking. And I said, he said to me, he says, you know, Dan, people are like, we go out to dinner. And I know Mike was probably laughing on the phone. So anyway, people are like going out to dinner. They go to a restaurant, they go to that same restaurant. They sometimes order the same food that they're at the restaurant. And he put me on the spot and he said, well, how does this change that? And I said, well, think about the offshore model. That takes up a lot of our youth. Takes us away from a lot of our youth today by not having these jobs here. And I said, well, think about a smorgasbord. Okay. You go into a smorgasbord, you know you're going to get full, probably fat, eat too much, you know, for what you're paying. You know, the quality food, it's okay. It's, you know, cafeteria or maybe a stage event. But that's what you got. Our residency program is being honest. We bring the customer in, they sit around the table while we're cooking it. We chop it up, we provide it, and make it the way you want it. And that's how we serve it. And that's what we do. And I have to ask the question, why not Tucson? This is something that would benefit every young person, every college graduate, everybody that's coming out of high school, anybody that's growing up here. This would make a difference in their life by working with TEKsystems and engaging them in our companies. Not just for the company, but for academics. I mean, that's what I've been doing this for. I didn't get into this. I'm getting old. 10 years ago, I was in my early 50s. Now I'm in my early 60s. And I hope by the time I'm in my 70s, we've gotten smarter and we're doing this. Because I've got so much runway. I've been beat up through football. You know, I hope my memory stays with me long enough to make it as many hits as we took during the days that I played. So I wanted to give something back to all those kids who didn't have a chance. I didn't get. If I wouldn't have had a scholarship from Arizona State. And I think that's a real thing. So we'll fly to the next slide here, which I get excited about this too, the TEKsystems. Is that TEKsystems has been put on us. So it's not like we're another competitor out here that they're just out here to sell you the bill of goods. They've been added to what they call AZNext, which is where they've been elevated to do this, to help and provide that with this structure to engage customers, to engage this model so that people can actually have an opportunity to take part of it. And this is something that was built. Now we can go back and everybody's, you know, heard the pipelines, heard the boot camps, heard this. They're all great. They help us. Because if they went through anything like that, they're like a med school to us. We can take them. We work directly with the customers. We work with contracts with customers. And we build these people with the customers on their projects. Could be HR. Maybe HR has got a huge hiring demand. Okay, how do we work with you to build these people up? Pick one of your projects, pick some technology, pick what you're trying to do. Let us go through it, put our senior guys on it, and develop it out. And then long term, you're going to have rates and capability that you can go anywhere and are valuable to anybody across the country. I think that's the message that we had for you guys today, and I get excited. So go ahead.
So we've got a lot of synergy coming through the chat. People really excited about what you have to talk about and the opportunities. And so I'd like to have an opportunity for some of those on the Zoom and some here in the room to be able to talk about how maybe you'll be able to help benefit them, or how they're facing the similar challenges within their own industries. And maybe we can kind of create a discussion
Sure.
that would be beneficial to everybody.
Do the best I can. Chat.
So you've got one that says they want to get they want to be connected with their workability directly. So it must be a program through USPCA, which is, what are they?
United Cerebral Palsy.
Yeah, United Cerebral Palsy of Southern Arizona. So a nonprofit, probably dealing with people with challenges.
Right.
And I can see where this would be a huge industry for them to be involved in. I don't know, let's open it up and see what you guys have to say about that, or.
Well, no, I'm open to anything. I mean, each person goes through a screening process. So it's not like you just take anybody, they go through a process. Because first of all, we take them through like Myers-Briggs, to give you an example, if you want a personality type, kind of, do they fit in the analytical world? What's their background? What is their capability? If they're cerebral palsy, what do they, companies would be, what do they need? What do they need to do, to do that? Or my son now has kind of a vision problem. So, it's kind of like you got issues around those things that you have to deal with. We'd have to identify all that and have customers. It really comes down to customers. I'm not afraid of any of these people if they're motivated and want to do it. It really comes down to customers getting engaged with TEKsystems and let us build this out for them. I mean, they have the projects, they have the work. We saw 14,000 available jobs. Somebody coming from somewhere.
Right.
So why don't the companies jump on board? And that cerebral palsy capability for some of those people, I think, is very possible.
Or just programs in general that would be assistive type programs for people with challenges.
Exactly. It could, absolutely. That's what it was. That's why we started it, and that's giving people the opportunity. People that have the want and the drive and the put in the time, they can get through this and be successful. This is, everybody's created this IT world like some kind of sci-fi adventure, right? It's not. Anybody can learn. This isn't what I would call, everybody wants to make it like it's high skills. It's, we need these people. We can't find these people. No, this is fundamentals. You break it down and you teach them what they need to know, and you do it in a way that they learn. No different than India would take somebody off from their offshore and do it. Why don't we do it again? We can do it for anything. That's my attitude. If it can.
There's another name for this used to be. It's called apprenticeship. That's really what this is. This is apprenticeship for high-tech skills, right? So if you're giving kids young people, you're giving them an apprenticeship to get to learn the skill. Then the advantage is to the companies is you get to date before you marry. And then instead of just outsourcing it, technologies will become a core competency of every company out there. And if you're working with somebody locally, they eventually you can hire them, but you're not going to do it. So it really it can be a very compelling proposition to companies.
I'm glad you brought up the apprenticeship because they've tried it. This is a little bit more aggressive than apprenticeship. So apprenticeship, you're getting them with a company. No, we're telling the company they're going to do a services contract with us. They're going to do a staffing contract with us. They're going to get their budgets and they're going to pay for us to do this. Because the apprenticeship, the company has no skin in the game. So they can only take 5 or 6 of these people. We can scale 100. There's no reason you can't transition companies' workforces to be using Tucson resources as well as they're going overseas. So this could be a mitigation process for offshore. India's having struggles with COVID. Why don't they repatriate 20% of their resources back here? We build it up. Companies are able to take advantage of it. I think it would be a huge opportunity. But the apprenticeship is something that gets thrown out, and the company has to interview them, like you said. You got to hook them up. You got to coordinate. No, we take full responsibility for these people. We screen them and we bring them in, just like they would take and give us a project. Swift and I had to bid those to 3 other companies to beat. And then they gave me the business. I was on the hook to deliver. It was my responsibility to succeed or fail with these people, and we succeeded. That's why I said this is prime time. Residency versus med school, totally different. Apprenticeships and med school program. This is a residency program. This is when they come out, they've got a job, they've got a resume, they've got a career. It isn't going to learn technology, stick your foot in the water, wonder if you like it or not. We make sure that they're qualified, we make sure they're capable, and they can deliver. That's the things that we do.
Anybody else?
Any other, please, quick.
Nothing else is coming up in the chat, so I'll leave it.
Christy?
Yes,
Hey, Christy, this is Michael Guyman. I hope you can hear me okay.
yes.
We can hear you.
Okay. Dan, Andy, thank you so much. I apologize that I can't be there in person. I had a chance to get my 14-year-old daughter her first shot. And so I took advantage of that, which I hope is understandable.
Hey, of course.
But I just want to thank you guys very much. You know, what I really like about this, I mean, I like a lot of things about this, but we have had conversations recently. In fact, as recent as this morning, I had some of our construction company leaders at our office this morning talking about skills and the need for workers now. The healthcare industry needs workers now. So there's sort of this immediate need versus long-term need. So what can we do in the immediate, next 3-6 months, and what do we need to do long-term to get people interested in the industry? And this is great because this helps with the more immediate need. Every company is an IT company these days, and so Banner needs IT just as much as Raytheon needs IT, and so this program can really help a lot of these companies skill those employees up quickly, so that they can address some of the shortfalls that they have at this point in time. So I just wanted to chime in to thank you guys very much. Dan, like you said, we've been working together for a long time. I hope everyone can sort of feel and sense the passion that he has, whether you're there in person or online. So thank you guys so much for
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Michael.
for doing
Yeah.
this and really appreciate the work you guys are doing.
Thanks, Michael. And I think the biggest takeaway that he just said is every company is an IT company.
Yep.
So I think that's huge. And so it impacts all of us in the room on many levels, personally as well as
Well, the thing
within
is,
a company.
and I get passionate, because it's emotional. See people, young people, have this opportunity like a man. You don't know what that says to you. So, it says that when you die, it isn't that you just were in a job for all your life. If you can change 4 people's lives, 2 people's lives, whatever it is, there's no reason you can't help people that need help and establish them. I mean, Fernando, I'd like to have him here to talk, but I met him, he had a dog. He had a young daughter that he had to try to support, and he wanted to give this a shot. And you hear these stories, and they're real. And he wanted to give her a shot. His degree was in Japanese. And we put him through this, and he's running that Hadoop implementation now at Swift. He's he's taking care of his family. I mean, that's what this was about when I started. TEKsystems is my plane, my ship to deliver. We built it. It's successful. It works. It's just companies got to believe in it. They got to believe you can build somebody with no IT, no background, day one, and give them a shot. And then we moved to high school. What you want, what you brought. I'm all in for helping high school students. Chris Camacho and I were talking about Phoenix Union years ago about what would it be like to provide a program to people where the graduation rate is like 50%. And to provide, when I went to high school, I didn't know where I was going. I was planning on being a highway patrolman. That was my future until I started getting calls on sports. Well, that's what some of those kids, what is their future? What are they thinking when they're 14, 15 years old? That's where you change it. That's where you say, hey, there's going to be an opportunity out here. Keep those grades up, and let's go. And I think that would be a huge thing. I think it'd be great for Arizona. I think it'd be great for Tucson. I think it'd be great for everybody
We
involved.
look at like programs like JTEC as well, you
Huh?
know, JTEC, that was my thought, is where you have, and I don't know if they do. There's a lot of medical, you know, and it's great because you have kids that come out who are ready to, you know, work as a CNA and maybe take that next step to being a nurse or going to nursing school. But you don't have, not all high school kids are, you know, careers that path or college or even a 2-year. So something through like a JTED, where they can start building those foundations. They, you know, especially in the field of IT where the need is not gonna finish.
And the thing about it is that let's get the companies to take those college graduates, and then once we build that field, then we have to take that next, I got told I was shut up about high school. It's very passionate, it's one of my.
The other thing with a program like JTED is companies, organizations are already seeing the proven benefit of that with high school students. And it's just, you know, in a sense, translating that into.
Exactly, get them degrees, get them education.
I think what's important too is to broaden the, what people think IT is about, because they might be like, oh, I'm not a computer geek, that's not for me. But I
For the
remember,
awkward guys sitting in the basement.
right, I don't have tape on my glasses, but I remember from my old job, one of the coders who was like this really creative, clever guy was a coder, and I was like, gosh, that seems so like boring. Why do you do that for a living? He said, no, actually, it's very creative. He said, once you get into coding, you see these rhythms, and it's actually kind of an artistic thing. And it was eye-opening for me because I had no knowledge of that.
You can't imagine how English majors take to this, musicians.
Right.
Oh,
So I
musicians,
think that's
writers,
important.
musician, language, somebody like the Japanese would have thought. I mean, it's survival. It's just another language. This is learning to do something else. This isn't, like I said, it's not intimidating. You get the right people, the right mindset. And I mean, I don't know how many musicians I haven't worked with in my career that are in IT. It's incredible. I didn't realize music was so complicated. It's more complicated than IT between the notes and this and scales. You know, he was telling me, he goes, oh, this is nothing. Writing music. So yes, it's here, it's now, it's real. You know, I'm very proud to roll this out of TEKsystems, and I think it'll benefit a lot of people. That's my message. So how do we get it out there, and how do we get companies to buy in and let us show them? You got a $13 billion company stepping up to the table to help Arizona. Let's do it. Let's make it happen. You know how to do it. So that's my message today. Let's go.
Great. Every company's an IT company.
That's right, every one of them. They all have IT, some scale, some size, some form. You know, and we can do this.
Right, anybody else have any questions for Ian or Andy?
And you got my after COVID speech, I've been locked in a Zoom, I've locked in a container. Only these Zoom calls, you know, it's like, oh, all right, come on, my sweatshirt, ready, you know, truck on over. This is exciting to get back out in front of people. So.
It has been, and we have appetizers afterwards. Feel free to stay as a courtesy of TEKsystems. Those of you on the Zoom call, get in your car, come on down. We have plenty.
Wow. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Right, it's a wrap.
So Dan, it's a bigger challenge. Employees or finding companies?